From estate planning expertise to insurance advice, our wealth advisors connect your money decisions to every aspect of your life. We call it Connected Wealth.
When you choose Nedbank Private Wealth, we want to focus on trying to understand your aspirations and your goals, because we really want to help you achieve them. So whether it's looking at investments from a structuring or strategy perspective for you personally or for your business, whether it's looking to leave a legacy, whether it's looking to realize your giving aspirations, we want to help you achieve those goals.
We believe in the power of human connections. We understand that financial aspirations are deeply personal, which is why we are committed to and deeply invested in looking at you as an individual.
Hello, my name is Lizay Visser, and I'm delighted to host this webinar with you today. Thank you for making the time to connect with us. And before you all ask, no, I did not watch the Barbie movie, but as I was thinking about my color schemes today, like all women do, first of all, proudly wearing the Nedbank colors green, but then this morning I woke up and thinking it's all about us women today. And there are so many women that inspires me, women that has made me who I am today. And I made the decision that pink, Barbie Power, will be the color that I'm bringing into this women event. And thank you for all the beautiful people that had an impact on my life. I'm celebrating you today. But let's get back to the session. We are excited always to explore the behaviors that's unique to women and all the financial decisions and choices that we make every single day that impacts in our life. The reality is that every single financial decision we make, all the choices we make every single day, impacts our ability to protect what is important to us, and also to achieve our goals and our aspirations. At Nedbank Private Wealth and at Nedbank Financial Planning, we are very passionate about our wealth experts who all lead with advice, and ultimately supported by our technical expertise, our access to global products and services, all solutions across the board that is here to support our clients, especially us as women, with all the financial decisions that we have to make every single day. It is with great pleasure that I introduce our panel today. On my right-hand side, Tracy, and then Sunay, Nandizwe. Gugu is also going to be our MC for today. And then Captain Londy. I'm going to hand over to you to start with our speaker, our guest speaker, and then handing over to Gugu that will be our MC for the rest of the session. Thank you.
Hard to port, hard to starboard. Steady as she goes, and the ship steadies, cutting through fair winds and following seas. This is a 50,000 gross tonnage ship. On board the ship is a colorful crew. On board the ship are different and different cultures. They've set her to go charter these really chartered fields of ocean's economy. Hello, ladies. I'm Captain Londy Ngcobo. I observed with great fascination as we were bidding goodbye to our family members, tears everywhere. The limiting thoughts, though, from society, but you're black, you can't swim. What if you die? What if your parents die? What about your boyfriend? You guys are so cute. She's chasing a dream And unfortunately, these are just a few of the missiles we have to dodge in pursuit of the dream. Much like the butterfly, to build a character, adversity needs to come to play. Never mind the missiles. She continues at age 18, continues to charter these fields. There's so much to bring home. At least becoming first, at least breaking the stereotype of a black man can't swim, because yes, it's cute, but it's so limiting and it's not funny. At this moment, she travels the world, chartering the course to the next destination, seeing everyone on board the ship so colorful, embracing and feeding off the differences, embracing and feeding off different strengths. I may be different, Captain. I may be brown, Captain. I may not even be able to press my words so clearly so you and I can understand each other, but please hold my hand. There's so much at stake. South Africa has no shipping line. There's so many girls that wish someone can finally walk the walk. Hold my hand. She further becomes Africa's first female dredge master. Brings back home yet what was entrusted. This is the time to enter. I don't have gray hairs, but I'm behind that wheel. As the command comes through, hard to port, hard to starboard, steady as she goes, it's behind my command. Through my career, heavy as it is, heavy as it often is when I have to reflect, I've had to look much deeper into what are the key takeoffs that I'm able to share for the larger community of women. And today I share with you 3 key takeoffs that I think fit throughout any kind of career. The first being anchors. The anchors are powerful. A ship as large as a 50,000 gross tonnage ship, when you drop her anchors, she finds her stability. So what anchors you? As a woman, what anchors you? Understanding that maybe it could be prayer, maybe it could be your partner, maybe it's your children. Because what anchors us will have us walking the walk, even through imposter syndrome. It will have us through walking the walk and understand that even when we're scared, we can walk the walk because we know where our anchors lie. I know now that I'm anchored in so many things. By the way, the boyfriend that they were questioning whether or not he'll wait, we've been married for 12 years. Because a person who knows your worth will always know you're worth the wait. In breaking stereotype, in shattering glass ceilings, what anchors you needs to come to the forth every single day. It'll have you zen, even in the hardest steaming boardroom. The second that I find to be so fitting is claiming your captaincy. Claiming captaincy, understanding that we all have different heads. Heads that we feel, heads that have been imposed, heads that we have chosen in our lives. Understanding that we ought to claim captaincy. I could be a CEO, I could be a trainee, I could be a mother, and I ought to show up and claim captaincy. And claiming captaincy means that you understand that in these very days, having a job in a high-performing organization in good health is nothing short of badass, sis. Understanding that when you're claiming your captaincy, you will show up. If you are meant to shine a table, you will shine it so glossy that when they think of replacing you, they will think twice. Claim your captaincy. And often when we speak of captaincy, we think of the highest rank possible. Hello, Captain. For you to go to your next big thing, claim your captaincy in the current. And I want to share with you the last one, and that's the voyage. I find it so fitting that we all understand we're in our journeys. The voyage makes you understand that for you to be able to claim your captaincy, for you to be able to reach your destiny, you ought to live in the here and now. The here and now is the journey. it's the voyage. It's what builds up. It's the milestone that takes you to your next big thing. The milestones that take you to your next big thing are practiced in the here and now. The voyage also challenges you to question yourself every single day. Why should the next person be grateful for my existence? And how would I like to be remembered? I'm Captain Londy Ngcobo. Enjoy the ride. Over to you, Gugu.
Sure. I don't know about you, but I've got goosebumps, and I think the rest of us here as panelists do too. As you heard, steady as she goes. That's my Captain Londy Ngcobo, giving us our keynote speech for today, as this webinar is proudly brought to you by Nedbank Private Wealth and Financial Planning. Well, as you've guessed, we're going to have a phenomenal conversation as to how women in corporate can find themselves anchored. Of course, claim their captaincy and follow through with their voyage, as has been highlighted by Captain Londy Ngcobo. My Captain, thank you so much for a phenomenal opening presentation. And I guess this really does set the tone for many of us to understand how we, as women in corporate, women in financial services, in the oceans economy, in the various aspects of the economic sector that we occupy, can truly ensure that not only do we follow through with our journey in pursuing economic growth opportunities, but that we also manage our wealth accordingly and enjoy the voyage of transitioning. Lizay, let me start with you. You gave us a wonderful welcome today and have been working in financial services for a while. I guess when you take a look at some of the opportunities that you've been able to explore in your voyage of your professional life, what are some of the key highlights for you that have kept you anchored, helped you claim your captaincy, and of course just made this journey so much more phenomenal for you?
I must say that was really bringing it close to home about claiming your captaincy. It's been a 29-year journey to come where I am today, you know, on the various ways that we've been through from financial services. But ultimately, it's actually understanding that you don't have to be an expert in everything. You know, we have choices. We have choices to outsource to people. There's so many people that we can surround ourselves with that can add to, you know, the sum of the parts, to that bigger contribution. When you're younger, you're brave. You're stupid. You think you can do everything. You want to do everything.
Right.
But then you grow up and you mature and you learn from the mistakes that you make. And you then choose to surround yourself with those experts, you know, the people that's going to help you on these journeys. And that has been the biggest learning for me, is to actually empower the people around me, because that's why you've appointed them in the first place, right? So give them that opportunity to also claim their captaincy. And that is where I am today, to be brave enough to let go, but still know that I'm still leading from the front and from within.
Sure, find that quite phenomenal, being brave enough to let go, but still know that you're leading. And that can be difficult sometimes, right? And Tracy, maybe this allows me to come to you. You've also been in financial services, and Nedbank specifically, for more than 2 decades. But within that particular journey, you've navigated so many opportunities, which I think is refreshing and reminds us that a voyage and a journey does not have to be linear. Talk to us about your experience and what has really stood out for you in your corporate climb.
So absolutely, Gugu. I think, you know, one has to be open to learning more. I think that's my kind of key takeout from my career. If I look back to when I actually finished school, which was almost 4 decades ago, but be that as it may, the reality is when I left school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I found my way into financial services, and I found my home. And I think that is what is so important, is one, we work so much that we've got to enjoy and be passionate about what it is that we do. Yeah. But linked to it, we've got to be open to learning new things every day. And if I look back and in financial services, that's precisely what happened and the trajectory my career took. I went from one step to another, to where I am today, and I still have not learned everything. Wow. So to Lizay's point, we've got to leverage on the people around us as well to be able to learn and grow even further. But the important thing is not to stop learning.
Never stop learning. It reminds me of a Steve Jobs quote, stay hungry, stay foolish, right? Always eager to learn. Sine, you also have a fantastic story as to how you entered the world of financial services. While everyone is talking about managing their money, we know it's all about investments and equities, which we know the markets can be bullish, the markets can be bearish, and you entered the investment arena at quite an interesting time. just after what? The global financial crisis, where we thought the world was falling apart. Despite that, I guess, baptism of fire, what kept you going and what kept you, I guess, in this particular environment that has seen you thrive through all these years?
I mean, the positive of my starting point is I had a low base, right? So it couldn't get much worse, and then the next surprise in the markets come along. I think the two biggest things that's helped me to keep going, because it can be it's easy to take it personal. When you're managing someone else's money, it's such a big responsibility. It's so easy to take it very personal. And I think the two biggest things I've learned is to distinguish between the things you can control and the things you can't control. And don't try and control the things that you can't, because it's not going to help the situation. So I really learned to stay focused on what can I control, and let me control that in the best possible way. And then something else that also has been quite a powerful driver for me through the ups and the downs, because it's hard, it's stressful, it's difficult, it's frustrating when you're working hard and then the market falls and you feel like you're failing, is to just stay true to my why. I always go back to why am I in financial services? What is it that I want to do? I want to help people achieve financial freedom. And just going back to my why am I doing this? This is what I'm trying to achieve. Just helps to keep you motivated through, especially the downs and the challenging periods.
I want to stay with you on that one just for a little longer before we come to Nandi, so as to how that makes you feel fulfilled, helping people meet their financial goals and objectives. Because someone else could say, well, it's not my money. I don't need to care.
And it's not something I started my career with. I mean, when I first started, I was quite like this, I don't know, like you're clueless and you just think you have to work hard and it's all about the hours. And it's something that's evolved over time. The more I worked in financial services and the more you can become aware of how just because you understand finances doesn't mean the whole, the rest of the population does. I've found this passion of, financial services and financial planning is actually a completely foreign object or subject for most people. And it's in discovering that how frightening it is for people to get their finances and their wealth under control, that it became a passion for me to help in whichever way I can.
Fantastic. And I think that takes us right to you, Nandi. So given the role that you serve as managing executive for wealth management, already it's very intimidating. When someone says wealth, you think, oh boy, I don't have the gazillions and the millions that make me qualify. But clearly there's something about the space that you're in that has also kept you motivated and perhaps shaped your why as to why you serve in this particular function.
So for me, I think it starts with the people that work in our space, our staff. We call them wealth warriors. So the role of leadership is around making sure that they feel that they work in a place that cares for them, the human that they are, and it supports them, right? It's an enabling work environment. So it starts there in terms of, yes, they are clients that you need to make sure that you help them in creating and managing their wealth. But without that being through people who actually feel that they work in an environment that's enabling, then we fail. So for me, my passion is around obviously supporting the client, but it's also very much more around the employee. And that's what keeps me motivated as a leader, because there's probably 900 people that work in our space, and I can't do everyone's job, right? But I can be that pillar that they know that, this is a leader that we can look up to. This is someone that I know if I call, they'll listen. And that for me is what I create space and time for.
Definitely. I find that so fascinating because leadership styles are always brought into question when females are appointed in a position of power, right? We always think, oh boy, overly emotional, not going to interact with staff very well. But many of you have navigated that role so beautifully. And it's evident in the outcomes that are actually achieved by your teams. Nandi, so just to stay with you for a second longer, maybe you can, talk to us a lot more about the role of people within teams and unlocking their potential, which is a sentiment that Lizzie also echoed on earlier.
Wow. So, I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, Gugu, because there's a statement that says, if you are the smartest person in the room, as a leader,
there's a problem.
There is a problem. So it's something I learned quite early on in my career from one of my earliest mentors, but not a formal mentor. He says to me, you need to understand who you are, understand your strengths, what your job or your role requires, and where are your gaps, and hire to fill your gaps, right? So I know I'm an introvert from a people perspective. Yes, I engage with people one-on-one and in a group, but like I'm an introvert. And then there's a Lizzie around me who's a bubbly person. So from a people perspective, like we play off each other. Also, when it comes to technical expertise, understand who you are and what you do and what you're good at, right? And then hire to fill the gaps that you have. So for me, it's the real, how do we then like hand off of each other and really rely on each other to make sure that as a corporate leadership team, you actually are able to deliver excellent work. But really, if I'm the smartest person in the room in every aspect within the team or what we need to deliver, then there's definitely something wrong in what I do. That's my firm belief.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, let's speak to the extrovert to get some insight on this one as we expand. Lizzie, something so interesting and peculiar for many of us that I guess stands out is that when you're planning your career and looking at future growth opportunities, we never really know what to expect, right? And for the four of you, you work within a corporate institution that is well respected across the continent. But I think none of us are really fully prepared as to what working in corporate is like. When you reflect on your journey and as a female leader specifically, what is it about working in corporate that perhaps you wish you knew that would influence your journey?
So I talk about corporate dancing or boardroom dancing every day. You know, the great thing about working in corporate is all, I mean, adding to what Tracy is saying, all your learning opportunities. I mean, there is just a wealth of opportunities that you can, if you put up your hand and if you are ready to work for it, you know that you'll have the opportunity. So that is something that I've learned in corporate, you know, just put in that extra hours, be disciplined every single day, know what you want to be the captain of. You know, like in financial planning, you know what your goals are, know what your objectives are, and then start planning for that. And planning for that, you know, I love this one book by Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 Hours, and I live and die by that. You know, if you want to be an expert in something else and everyone's got the same opportunities, what's going to make you different to the person sitting right next to you? True. It's the extra 10,000 hours that you've put on. And, you know, Nandi would say, but you're always online. Well, I love my job, and is that wrong? You know, that I love my job. That's what makes me happy. And my children know as long as I'm happy, everyone is happy in the household. So let mom do what mom needs to do.
Husbands would agree, happy wife, happy life, right? That's the line.
Yeah, so it's wonderful to be brought up in a corporate. You know, for a short term of my life, about 4 or 5 years ago, I made the decision to go into corporate consulting. And as exciting it was, you know, I was my own boss, was writing my own paycheck. I missed corporate dancing. I missed learning from other people because, to Nandi's point, you know, if you're the only person in the room and you're only the smart one, you think you're the smart one, you're never learning. And I missed that. I missed leading a team. I missed, you know, every single day not knowing what's going to hit us today, working with our clients. And that's something only the corporate environment is going to give you, that wealth of experience, that wealth of opportunities, and very deep friendships. You know, you build so many connections with people. I can honestly say that from my best friends today, I all met in corporate. Wow. And we all still corporate ladies. We still do the corporate dancing every day. And as we say, lipstick's on. Let's do it.
Right? Corporate dancing. I like that. And Londy, this is where you come in because you have a very different perspective in terms of your experience. You started off in corporate, a full-time job, employee, earned amazing accolades as Africa's first female dredge master, and then decided, the corporate dancing, let me try to step into the world of entrepreneurship. How did you navigate that? Because I can imagine you're young, you're dynamic. From a corporate point of view, you appear to have a great runway ahead of you. That's quite a risk that you took on, deciding to be your own boss and run an entity.
Absolutely, Gugu. I think as women, there comes a time where you feel that you could be doing more. Not that I was not fulfilled. I just felt that I could make more impact. There's only 2% of female participation in my industry. And I felt that even though the seat was warm and cushy, corner office and everything, it still didn't influence the impact that I wanted to see. So then transitioning into business, into entrepreneurship, I think you become in denial that you actually are doing it because the seat is cushy. But with time, you realize that it's beyond you.
Yeah.
And so then when the numbers start to grow, you're like, oh, actually, I'm okay. But the transition itself is scary, much like with any new territory. It's quite scary.
What I'm hearing here is that it requires a lot of self-confidence.
Absolutely.
It needs the anchor. It needs
where
a
you then
support
have
system.
to pull the anchors through. I think with time you realize it wasn't a bad move. For me, transitioning, I needed to make sure that I had locked full on my networks, my friendships, because I would need to go back to the wisdom that obviously was imparted to me when I was still at work. So I then am able to feed off my former colleagues, even when I'm now in entrepreneurship.
Valid point.
Yeah.
This is where we're going to change the conversation slightly, because we can't ignore the fact that as women, we have the opportunity to participate in the economy. We have the vibrancy to explore corporate careers, be entrepreneurs, and wear multiple hats at the same time. And Londy, given your experience that you've just described, we can't ignore the money aspect. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure gives you options, right? And makes it quite comfortable.
Absolutely.
Transitioning from a full-time employee, moving into entrepreneurship must have led to a lot of financial lessons for you that you had to adopt. Give us the scoop. Did you go home, ask for some extra money, bootstrap, call a few friends up in corporate? What was the journey like?
It became very interesting. As you can imagine, once you've climbed all the way up to executive, you are comfortable. Your life, you buy flowers for your kitchen counter every week.
Yes.
And now when you transition into entrepreneurship, you have to think twice. I have lots of friends that I'm now I had to catch up with from being away. So now the coffee dates too, you have to think twice. Girls' night out, you have to think twice. So because of the security element that comes with now suddenly being an entrepreneur, it became more of a mind shift. It needed to become more of a mind shift, knowing that my lifestyle will slowly change, knowing that I now need to decline a certain dates, and that if I don't have fresh flowers, then maybe I should get artificials for a while. So it becomes a mind shift. But most importantly, I got to understand that things have changed. I now need to understand that I won't get paid for the first few years or first few months when now I'm on the other side. And it's not easy, but it becomes worth it with time.
Definitely becomes worth it with time, with adequate financial planning, with a wealth management structure in place, and of course these phenomenal ladies to guide you, right, when it comes to money. And the reason why I asked that question is because it takes us to the outcomes that we recently saw in a Net Group investment study that actually took a look at financial behaviors. And there are a few nuances that speak to, I guess, lifestyle changes like entrepreneurship, starting a family, behavioral changes that might be unique to women as well. So Nate, give us a snapshot as to what this picture looks like. And Lizzie, I'm happy for you to add some color and detail too to some of the insights and what it tells us specifically about financial behaviors, and if there are any nuggets that do speak to females specifically.
Yeah, so Gugu, we did a study, I think it was actually Africa's largest at the time in 2021. We did an in-depth survey of more than 3,000 participants to understand what are the characteristics that drive decisions, investment decisions. And that allowed us to split the group surveyed into two broad groups. We called it high composure, low composure. So are you emotional when it comes to money, or are you, cool, calm, and collected? And then within each of those, there were even more nuances with how people behaved. And that study did show that within the male group, it was about 50-50, and slightly over 50-50 in terms of who is cool, calm, and collected. And in the female group, as I'm sure all of us have heard many times before, females are emotional, we are more emotional. And my husband loves to remind me all that often, you're emotional, you're rational. And sadly, the study confirmed it. The split in the female part of the study was towards the 60-40 split. So more females are emotional than are not. But the good news is it doesn't mean that, oh, shucks, you're emotional, you're a female, it means you can't make good investment decisions. It just means that there is a different element within the way you make decisions that needs to be managed. And that's where the financial advisory space helps you. It's if your investor personality shows that you're low composure, own it, make your financial advisor aware of it, and then help your financial advisor navigate you through the times of uncertainty that is more difficult for you.
And what I'm hearing here is that, of course, it takes a heightened level of self-awareness, right, to actually understand how you are, who you are, how you react, and then communicate that in order to make sure that you have the right financial strategy. Would that be correct, Lizzie?
Absolutely, and I would like to add to that. I just want to start with a husband is not a retirement plan.
100%.
So if you look at the behavioral studies, there's definitely a retirement gap for us as women. It could also be, to add to what Sinais is saying, that often we are the caretaker or the caregiver. You know, we take a executive gap or a career gap when we look after our children, and there's decisions that we make as women. So we then often, we were having this debate earlier about do you marry within community of property with accrual, without accrual.
That debate.
That debate that we should have from day one. But, you know, the choices women make, you know, if I have to decide today to give up my career to look after my children, what impact has that on my retirement plan? And who's going to look after me? Because for a few years, I'm going to be lagging on my financial security and my financial plan. So from an emotional perspective and from a behavioral perspective, there's just many more complexity in our lives and so many more choices that we have to make as women. And that really talks into when we see women also are more risk averse than men, you know? Because we know our life expectancy is much higher. We also have this doubt about, am I going to be looking after my children? And because of that, we also tend to not take as much risk as men would do from an investment perspective and a retirement plan perspective.
I'm assuming, Tracy, this is where you also see this and have witnessed it, right? As a certified financial planner at the coalface, interacting with a myriad of women who come from different life experiences and perhaps share different challenges. But from a financial discipline point of view, are there specific characteristics that women need to abide by in order to make sure that that financial discipline translates into having an appropriate plan and communicating it effectively?
So, Gugi, I think for me, it's all about, once again, and I think Lizette touched on it earlier, but it's about understanding what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses. And if we don't understand the financial environment, it's about making sure that we get appropriate advice. Because it's in my opinion, it's all around making sure that you get appropriate advice. We talk about financial planning. I mean, in a nutshell, if I could sum it up into 3 things, for me, it's around trying to enable people to make better financial decisions. It's also around trying to enable people to avoid financial disasters.
Yes.
And so often we see that people don't plan properly. So just a simple example, having a bond on a property, but not having life cover in the event of death 100%. And passing away, and suddenly that property's got to be sold. So that's what I mean about avoiding financial disasters. And the thing that really excites me and makes me passionate is the last part, and that's about really trying to enable people to realize their giving aspirations. So, yeah, I think in a nutshell, it's around understanding what are our strengths and weaknesses, and it's around seeking advice, appropriate advice from the expertise that can help us on that journey.
Definitely. We'll come to the giving in just a moment, because I think that's such a fantastic opportunity to explore, especially for many women and men, actually, when it comes to their wealth management strategies. But Nandi, so this is probably, again, where you have to encourage a lot of men and women to actively understand the role and importance of wealth management, because as mentioned, it can come across as being intimidating. And what we tend to forget is that it is a lifetime journey. This relationship is probably the most relationship you'll have in your life, because it speaks to the different changes and nuances of your life cycle, right? From your observations and on the back of the study and interactions with female clients, how critical has it been to underscore that any changes in one's life and lifestyle would definitely translate into a change in their wealth management strategies?
No, definitely. It's very important, Gugu. So I think I will preface it on if you're an individual and you are growing up and you want to be a teacher, you learn. So you partner with a teacher, first of all. In primary school, you go to a college, and then you assume that your own financial wealth or financial life, you're going to handle it by yourself, you're going to learn by yourself, and everything, you'll be fine. So I think it's important to know that you do need to partner with people who understand the space quite a lot and trust them, because it's around how do you ensure that, again, go back to my leadership thing, how do you surround yourself with people who know things that you maybe do not know, understand your own gaps. Tracy says you need to know who you are, reflect on your own strengths, and where you have weaknesses, you need to make sure that you create space to fill for those, whether it's hiring employees or hiring a financial advisor that fills the gap. And it's very important because, I mean, we know a lot of people, even through the COVID, people were quite impacted highly. True. So imagine losing your job and you didn't create a nest egg for yourself. then what happens, right? It really impacts on you. Significant life changes. Having kids impacts you quite a lot. So it's around not only thinking about I need to live for today, but what do I need for the future if X, Y, Z happens?
Yep.
And you need to prepare for those eventualities. Obviously, not taking the joy out of today, because you know the generation those days, there's YOLO. So don't take the joy out of today, but realize that you don't want a significant shift in your lifestyle should something unexpected happen.
Definitely. And I can imagine this becomes more nuanced in a society like South Africa, where we're well aware that given the latest unemployment figures, the majority of women are still ostracized and on the outside of being economic participants. But it is shifting. We do have an opportunity to create our own money and become breadwinners. Is this also a factor that nuances the investment decisions and I guess the 6 steps of financial planning that we actively participate in? Investment, covering risk and the likes. Open to the panel.
So I think for me, I mean, previously, and I suppose it goes back to the confidence of being able to make financial decisions that we have, right?
Are we confident? Let's talk about that, because I think when it comes to the shoes and the bags, everybody says we are, but I also think we're well aware of the investment decisions we need to take, right?
I think there's a little bit of a self-doubt that comes with that. Am I going to be able to make the right decisions financially for myself? I feel for me, if you can trust yourself to raise a child from being a baby to an adult,
right,
create society, to manage a household so that things don't fall apart, make sure that those kids are fed. So basically, you've taken the responsibility of creating the next generation. That's something that as women we'll hold on ourselves. I mean, what is money in creating wealth as a responsibility and the task that we feel so intimidated by, right? So I think that for me is a thing that I suppose I play around with in my head, that we take it as a big thing, but in the context of all the things that we do to maintain society, it probably is a small issue. But let's partner with the right people. It's right that previously women were not earning enough, so maybe you didn't even have to get to a point where, like, okay, fine, I make 100 rand. How do I make sure that I cater for this 100 rand for today and the future? But now in a position where you are making more money, we have more women in boards, in executive positions. We have more of them. But those women need to make sound financial decisions for themselves, for their kids, because that's what we do as women, right? We do it for our children. We do it for our family. It's hardly ever about us. But how do we make sure that we partner with the right people to get that right?
I like that. I'm claiming captaincy of the financial decisions I take. I think that's a beautiful way that you put it. If you can raise a family, what is money? And I think this naturally can be echoed by some of the sentiments, not only in the study, but even in your experiences as well, as if you could add some color there about how women are taking on a more decisive role.
And I would like to keep to the analogy that Nandi, shared about bringing up children and being, mom to a child. And if you're brave enough to do that, surely we can do our financial planning. And it doesn't mean if you're going to be raising a child, you're going to be doing everything yourself.
Exactly.
I mean, Nandi raised the point about outsourcing. But having that goal, I want to raise a child, this is what I want to do, and I want to make sure this child live, make it through most of the years. You're going to be outsourcing to experts, to teachers, to caregivers, healthcare systems. And just remember, wealth is not just about money. Wealth is about your well-being. That's a true definition of wealth. So your well-being is not just about, feeling in control, looking after your children, but it's about your health. It's about your financial well-being. It's about your life. It's everything that impacts, everything that connects to your wealth. And we as women just need to ensure that as we put down the plan of when we're going to buy our next shoes or the trip that we're going to take or our flowers, that we are as disciplined in putting down the plan of the financial goals that we want to achieve. And then to Nandi's point, get those experts in whose job it is every single day to look after that financial plan with you. And it doesn't mean that you are now disempowered in your financial decisions. It's actually that you're bringing someone in to help you achieve those objectives. You're not disempowering. I don't feel disempowered as a mother when I was bringing someone in to help me educate my children, looking after them at daycare.
Exactly.
It was empowering me to make them better and to grow them and to surround them by more. And that very same discipline and choices that we make as mothers every single day, we can make in our financial decisions. You don't have to make all those decisions. Get the experts in.
Exactly. I like that. Empowering yourself with the community that will anchor you
Yes.
and support you through this particular journey. Sinead, you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, just like share some positive news. In the preparation for this webinar, we did look at the Ngcobo Investments assets. It's about 30 billion rand that's invested that we looked at. And we tried to see, has it changed? You know, so we went back 10 years ago, and what was the split of male-female clients? 10 years ago, the male-female split was 60-40.
Sure.
At the moment, the male-female assets under management split is closer to 50-50, which is in line with the population split of around 50-50. Now, it might not sound like a lot, but for the entire pie to shift from 60-40 male dominance to 50-50 was amazing to see.
True.
And then the other great thing that came out of the numbers is the age of investors also getting much younger. Again, 10 years ago, 70% of the assets were sitting with 64 years plus, and there's various factors that can drive it, but today we're sitting with, that's fallen down to under 50%, and there's a bulk of assets coming through in the 45 to 65-year-old category, both male and female alike. So it might not feel like it's changing, but from a, you know, the devil's in the detail, right? Or
Exactly.
The proof's in the pudding. Sorry, wrong analogy.
It's fine.
let's blame the fact that I'm Afrikaans. You know, it's the numbers are showing that more females are creating wealth and at a younger age, which is promising to see.
Definitely. I'm hoping we can expand on that one, and that's open to the panel, because so often when we think about building and creating wealth, we always think, I don't have enough. So how am I going to speak to a wealth manager? How am I going to speak to a financial planner when I just don't have enough? And sometimes that actually perpetuates some of the mistakes that we typically make. I, for one, got married at a very young age, later divorced, but got married in community of property because I thought, I have a cell phone contract and a car and a job and a pension. That's not a lot. But clearly the mindset is shifting, right? And it's telling us something that, again, you're not too young, but at the same time, you're not too old. So is that also another aspect that we need to be mindful of, that millennial and Gen Z females are taking on a broader responsibility financially? And how do we continue to encourage that kind of behavior?
So if I may just come in there, I think if I can use the analogy of building a house, because when you build a house, you have to start with a plan. And if you look at wealth planning or financial planning, if we use those two terms interchangeably, you've got to have a plan. And so to your point around when does it make sense financially to start, my answer would be yesterday. Because the sooner
Even with my entry-level job,
even with your
waitressing.
entry, and you know what? Actually, that's the best time to start. Because the younger you are, the earlier you start saving towards your retirement, the better retirement you're going to have. I'm just using that as an example. So you need to start yesterday if you haven't started already. And you have to have a plan.
Yeah, and also just to add, I think for me it's an old saying, right? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. So you can't expect that when you are 40 or 45, and I mean, it's never too late to start, that you're going to have miraculous discipline that's going to change the way that you behave. So, I mean, as humans, we should trust ourselves, but don't trust yourself that much. So I think it's important to
you're
start...
right, because behavior takes time,
Right?
Yes.
So start the discipline, or rather the practice of knowing that if you earn 100, don't live on the 100. Live on slightly less than that, and then store maybe the 10, whatever the number is, away for future. Not only is it good from a returns perspective, because everyone knows compound interest, right? And the power of that. But also you start the discipline of knowing that you cannot and shouldn't be living beyond or even within your means, right?
Exactly.
So you should live like slightly below your means so that you can create wealth for the future. And the earlier you start that behavior and building that discipline, the better it will be for you as an adult.
Makes sense.
And also to add, you know, what Tracy also been saying about the plan. I mean, it's yesterday. That's when you need to start. I mean, but ultimately understanding what is the most important goal that you want to start with. Because you will not be able from day one to say, tick, 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 I've got everything sorted from day one. But as you grow, your financial complexity grow, you'll have more needs, whether it's to protect your assets, whether you want to now invest offshore, whether it's now for longer term, where you need your estate plan, your will, now you get married. There's just so much complexity. But that life journey that you're going to walk, each time there will be a new goal. And every girl in that discipline, contribute towards that and put down what is the plan then to achieve each of those goals. So you'll never be able from day one, young, upcoming professional earning not that much, to be able to afford every single one of those goals. So look at your affordability. Once again, speak to an expert that can help you look at your affordability, because we also don't want you to starve. But choose those goals. Yeah. What is most important to you today? And then work towards that holistic plan where you can go and say, I've ticked all the boxes. My life plan now is sorted.
Definitely. It starts with that B word, hey? Yeah. Budget.
Budget. I mean, just to add to what Isaiah is saying, interestingly enough, within the low composure group where there are more females, one of the characteristics is also around the ability to, absorb a big decision. And one of the, how do you help someone that is in the low composure group is about taking it step by step. So, and claim it. Go to your advisor and say, listen, don't give me 5 different things at the same time to do. Today I'm here to just get my tax restarted. And then you do that.
Got you.
And the next time you go, okay, now I've got that under control. Now I'm ready to talk, in case of emergency, or whichever order you want to do it.
Got you.
And I think don't quietly sit and think, oh, shucks, I don't know where to start, so I'm rather not going to start. Just claim it and say, it's overwhelming, but help me do one thing at a time, and eventually you'll get there.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Sune, because it obviously speaks to the goal that you have in mind. Sometimes we're inundated with a unit trust, have a offshore equity account, tax-free savings and the likes, but that should be specific to what it is that your goal and objective is, and of course what you're comfortable with managing at the time. Got you. Awesome. I do want to shift gears now to talk about another aspect that I think many of us often take for granted, but as was described earlier, if women are bold enough to start families and raise children and leave a legacy, it obviously speaks to an aspect of philanthropy. Right? And Tracy, this is where you come in. And Londy, I'm hoping you can also add some aspects here. Firstly, Tracy, I want to understand the critical role that philanthropy actually plays within one's financial planning or wealth management plan. And if you can give us some insight into that as to why it is something that we should consider when it comes to managing our wealth overall. And Londy, if you can also add on your particular areas of expertise and experience, because you've been very bold in allowing more women and encouraging them to enter the oceans economy. So much so that you've been bold enough to say you might be the first female African dredge master, but you're definitely not the last. And you're implementing a lot of programs in place to ensure that more women come up through those studies. So maybe, Tracy, let's start with you and we'll add with Londy.
So I think for me, if we look at wealth planning and financial planning, it's a very personal thing. We were actually looking to plan our own for our own financial stability and future. But when it comes to philanthropy, and we often use the term giving as opposed to philanthropy, because I think it actually describes it, in a sense, a lot better, because philanthropy almost has this kind of elitism attached to it, that philanthropy is something that's reserved, that once you've made your millions, then you can start to consider
you think
philanthropy.
I need to be Melinda Gates.
But the reality is it's not. And if you look at it, and if you look at philanthropy from a giving perspective, and we produce a report every second year, we've been doing so for the past 10 years, that specifically looks at the giving habits of high net worth individuals in South Africa. So we are the only company that actually produces the report. But just some interesting stats, if I may, that came through that report. Because of every 10 high net worth individual we interviewed, 8 actually give in one way or another. Sure. And when we're talking about giving, it's not just giving financially. It's giving of one's time, it's giving of one's resources, and it's giving financially. So as financial experts who do good, we obviously look at the lens, how can we enable clients to give financially? And so I think the important aspect, and I think just trying to tie it back to the discussion today around women as well, just another interesting stat that I've got to throw out there, and that is in the most recent report, more than 50% of high net worth individuals that are giving are female. Ooh. And that's the first time we've seen it over 50% in the past 10 years since we started the report.
Sure.
And if you break that down further, I think there's about 60% that are giving that are professionals that are actually giving. But really what I want to say is that I think each of us can give in our own way, whether it's giving of time, whether it's giving of money, whether it's giving of resources. And I think for me, what is so encouraging is to see that how as a nation we are a giving nation. And I mean, we can just look at recent events we've had. If you look at the floods in KZN, just as an example, it was communities that were standing together to support each other. And at its core, that's what philanthropy is all about. It's about trying to make a difference to humankind. It's trying to make a difference to society. And I think each one of us can own that. And as I say, whether it's giving of time, whether it's giving of money, we can all own that. And importantly, we can all make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. Refreshing
Absolutely.
because it's not about being rich, right, or reaching a particular milestone, but understanding which resources you have available to you. And that's what you're doing right now,
Absolutely,
Captain.
absolutely. Thanks for that. I think for me, it resonates the most when you have to listen to your dissatisfactions, wherever you're positioned in your industry. What are the dissatisfactions that you are experiencing every single day? And mine was that of just lack of awareness about oceans economy, lack of awareness. Everywhere I went, you actually drive a ship, like the ship, and often some people would think I'm in the Navy. No, it's the MSC one, it's the contain, it's the bigger ones, you know? So I've often had to convince that, hey, actually, the land is full, the ocean belongs to us too, and it bears fruits, and it's the whole economy out in the ocean. But so for me, when they came, says, Londy, I want to be like you. But the question then would be, do you like maths and science? No, but you don't need it. Do you want to be a mechanical engineer? Do you want to be an electrical engineer? Do you like makeup, doing makeup? Do you like being a DJ? You see, all of that is accommodating, is accommodated on board ships, you know? If you want to be a diver, that's ocean's economy. So it's just having to bring that awareness to expand opportunities, employment opportunities to South Africans. So I think that it's driven mostly about the dissatisfactions. You know, kids can read about me in schools now. They know that there's a Sis Londy. She comes brown and she's got African cuteness. Yes. You know, so it's just making it appealing, just showing up, making it visible. You know, and it comes with with discomforts too, because then you have to show up on social media. You know, and when a girl came to me and said, "Thanks for making it visible," then I said, "You know what? I will keep posting." You know, because then I'm visible to someone. So philanthropy for me, fully listening to the dissatisfactions. What are they? There's not much awareness. And so I will start Global Maritime Youth, and I will connect this skill, supply, and demand so that they can be able to see there's more options than the land. You know? So, yeah, it hits home, especially when you're a woman and you're a nurturer. But it's beautiful to see the impact.
Definitely. This reminds me of a statement that we so often hear within corporate circles, is that your network is your net worth. And what we're hearing here is that the network of wealth managers and private bankers and advisors that you have around you can help you with your financial journey. The network of colleagues and peers you have in the workplace can help you grow and learn and, of course, be able to be a leader. And the networks that you're able to tap into in different communities and environments can allow you to make a difference and expand and open up on those opportunities. I guess I want to go down the panel as we draw our concluding remarks and maybe refer and use the network aspect as an anchor to this particular response as to what it is or what aspect of your network has truly left you in a better position when it comes to your net worth, however you choose to define that, monetary or within self-fulfillment. And Londy, maybe to start with you as we make our way down the panel with Lizzie.
Definitely for me, I would say a sisterhood. Because I found authentic conversations. I found authentic shares within sisterhood. And I would say much those that are older than me, same age, and even younger. Beautifully so, because in tapping into entrepreneurship, there's lots I've had to learn. And so with that, I've gotten to understand that being the captain of my life, I need to know who's on board with me. And are they on board? But I found that women have authentic conversations. They ask the right questions. You know, are you making money? Is it actually viable? Does it make sense? This is what I did. You know, so for me, through and through, I have found most help and most support from sisterhood.
Fantastic.
Being the Women's Month, by the way.
Exactly. That's the reason why we're here. Lizzie, keen to understand from your point of view what's contributed to your net worth.
Yeah, I started with the welcome this morning of choosing between going green, my corporate color that I'm very proud of. My blood is green. But externally today, I choose to wear pink, which is not a color I don't think I ever wear. And it's because of not my sisterhood. We call ourselves the goddesses. Yes. And that net worth of friends, lady girlfriends that I have in my life, that's walked the journey with me. You know, they've been with me for decades. I'm not going to give away my age. They're all sitting in corporate positions, all of us. They all have the same challenges I have daily. We're all in financial services. We see the markets changing. We see our clients' needs changing. We see products changing, regulation changing. And it's just wonderful to just have that sisterhood with our goddesses where we can reach out to each other on a regular basis, checking in if we're okay. What are you doing? How are you surviving? Are you coping? And we talk about the deposit, you know. Whenever our goddesses have a breakaway over a weekend, we're like, yes, the bank is full. We're ready to take on the world, our bosses, our clients, all of them, you know. And that is my wealth. My wealth is to have my friends that I deeply, deeply trust. And whether it's the good, the bad, or the ugly, we open and honest with each other. We inspire each other. We trust each other. We motivate each other. We support each other. And that's something I really wish for my daughters. You know, I keep on saying to them, and they do have these friends. And you know, as young girls growing up, I said, if there's one thing you have to consistently decide every day, is who's that group of girlfriends you're going to surround yourself with, because you are the sum of the parts, and they're going to make you stronger. You're not going to be the strongest, but you're going to be stronger with the girls that you are surrounding yourself with. And to celebrating them. And my goddesses also include my daughters, who are also my best friends. I'm super proud of them, but definitely that is my wealth.
Definitely. Love that it's intergenerational. That's what we love about wealth and this new definition that we're bringing to it. Tracy?
Yeah, so Gugu, I think from my side, I think it's relationships in general. I don't think I would kind of put it down to just friendships. I would look at relationships that you build up in your working environment, your professional relationships you build up, because no man is an island, no woman is an island, sorry, should I rather say. And because of that, you need to be part of a stronger team. So it's around making sure that you do build that team, both from a professional perspective, but to look at your anchor. And your anchor, to me, is family. And so you've got to look and make sure that at the same time you're building that family connection. Because after all, when you've had a bad day, who do you turn to? So for me, it's kind of a bit broader. It's looking at relationships in general. It's looking to try and bring the professional relationships together as well with family.
100%. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Sinead, because when I think of the role that you play in portfolio management and, of course, the investment arena, the markets go up, the markets go down, there's a panic, there's a sell-off, there's this. So it can be really erratic and also add to, I guess, some of the stresses that might influence your network and your net worth.
Yeah. I think, I mean, as you grow in your career, you change and you learn a lot of lessons. And I think a lesson someone tried to teach me when I was very young, I'll never forget it, in my first job, I had a mentor that explained to me, you are Sinead Pty Limited and you need to manage and take care of yourself.
True.
And you have to build your brand. And that's really stuck with me. And over the years, as a young female coming up in quite a male-dominant industry, you know, it can be intimidating. And you're like, oh, shucks, how am I going to build this Sinead Pty Limited? I have to be clever, I have to be strong. And for me, the biggest kind of leap was when I just became authentic. I'm like, you know what? I'm an investment professional.
Right.
I'm also a mother. I am a wife. I am a friend. I am an emotional person. I wear my heart on my sleeve. This is who I am. And once you relax into claiming who you are and being authentic, your relationships come naturally. There's no, once you let go of that pretending, and you don't need to be some specific stereotype. You know, be your own Pty Limited. Be authentic in it, and as long as your brand is strong and your output and your quality is strong, you know, you can be all of them at the same time. Because females wear many hats.
We do.
Yeah.
We definitely do. I love the fact that you're highlighting, showing up as your authentic self. Nandisa, your points that you'd like to share with us as we conclude?
Yeah, so for me, I think as I've grown in leadership or in corporate, it's now less about the next thing, although I do want it, right? It's less about that, but how do I remain grounded? So what is my anchor, as Tracy was talking about? And that's where I've put more value in my network now, in terms of I have a couple of people around me who ground me spiritually, who remind me that the work that I do is less about me and more about, the higher purpose, who remind me that my service, I'm a Christian, right? So I could be a preacher or I could be a corporate leader, and I need to take those quite seriously, the role that I do play. So they ground me in that this is not about you. Today is not a good day, but this is not about you. This is about the person who works for you. This is about the client that you're servicing. So it could hurt. I mean, you have days that hurt emotionally, but there's people who ground me. Then now the network I have is, like I said, in a corporate context or work context, it's not about climbing, it's sounding boards. I've got complex decisions to make, and sometimes you don't want to reach out to people around you, like in work, because they have a vested interest. So where do I go outside of this to soundboard an idea or thought process I have, and know that this person will play it back to me? Because sometimes you have all the answers within you, right? But you need someone to play it back to you so that it makes sense. And that for me as well, that's what now I've tapped into, or rather in this process of tapping into someone external, not at work. It's about not validating your decisions, but just making sure, because you understand the depth of the impact of the decision that you are now taking, it's no longer about control, but the influence. And you want to make sure that someone better check me.
Yes, to cover those
someone who has
spots.
no interest in the matter better check what I'm saying. So it's around that. And earlier on, it was a different thing. It was a different, okay, who can get me like the interview? Who can get me this? Who can get me the next job? But now it's about how do I maintain the space I'm in and the integrity of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ladies, how fulfilling. I wish this conversation could continue for hours on end, because there's just so much to unpack. But we've definitely taken away a lot of learnings that start with us as individuals, right? The growth opportunities that we want to pursue, what keeps you steady and anchored. But most importantly, the following layers regarding your network, understanding how money influences a lot of the decisions that you do take. Your behaviors, though, influence the outcomes of how you achieve those goals and objectives. And it's only through the ability of tapping into the necessary networks, those with the knowledge, the know-how, the expertise to guide you and navigate you through life's journey and the financial implications thereof, that we're able to live lives that are fulfilled, where the voyage becomes pleasurable, where the journey is one that can reap rewards, and most importantly, also have positive outcomes for those that are within your personal network that you look to leave and experience much of the options with. So on that note, we trust that steady as she goes is steady as you will go through your financial decisions and through your life's purpose and corporate decisions. We wish you all the best, and thank you so much for joining us for this phenomenal Women's Day edition of our Nedbank Private Wealth and Nedbank Financial Planning webinar. We naturally might be happy to take your questions, so if you do have any, please do reach out to the team at Nedbank Private Wealth, and we'll be sure to get in touch with you. On that note, though, we wish you a successful Women's Month. A big thank you again to all my panelists for joining us and sharing of themselves and of their knowledge. And we thank you for sharing of your time and your capacity to be with us today. Until next time, it's goodbye for now.